Greetings, everyone. David the Real Man White here once again. Prayer is crucial in Orthodoxy, and some newcomers to the faith have a hard time understanding this very notion. The aim of this video is to help out those that are in spiritual need, but also those that are spiritually dead. As an example, those that have an incredibly hard time praying. It is vital to stress the importance of prayer because you can have all the theology, philosophy, and apologetics all you want, but without a good prayer life, they're all worthless. And so this goes out to the catechumens that before anything, establishing a life in prayer is of the utmost importance. And for this video, we're going to be covering resources, books that you can be reading, and some general tips that you can use yourself. And having said all of that, let us begin. The first book I would like you to read is A Beginner's Guide to Prayer by Father Michael Kaiser, sorry. Now there's two things to note regarding this book. First of all, this is written by a priest. It's not just some layperson, it's not just some dude or some woman that calls themselves Orthodox. It's a priest in the Orthodox Church. And so you can rely on what this priest is saying regarding it. And it's a good book for the noobs out there. And another thing to note is that it really helps you clear a lot of misconceptions regarding what prayer is. A lot of people, depending on the faith they come from, have a lot of different views on what prayer is. And as I said before, this book helps you clear all of those misconceptions. The other book I would like to advise you to read is The Art of Prayer. It's a collection of sayings from the fathers. There's sources that are both Greek and Russian. And this goes more in depth regarding, what is prayer, and it's a really good book to read. It's unlike The Art of Prayer, it's not really that long again. It's less than 300 pages, but nevertheless, it's more in depth. The final book, which I can't recommend this to you enough, is The Way of a Pilgrim. This is a non-fiction, I will say, story. This book is is amazing. I will advise anyone, whether you're a complete noob, whether you're new to the faith, or if you're someone that's already in the church, it doesn't matter. This is a very valuable book. The whole book starts with the author questioning a certain verse in the Bible, 1 Thessalonians 5:17, where Saint Paul tells us to pray ceaselessly, pray without ceasing. And he asks himself, how can I pray without ceasing? How is this even possible? And fundamentally, the book is centered around the Jesus prayer. So if you want to understand the Jesus prayer even more, and if just select quotations or just a dry reading of what some theologian says doesn't fit well with you, then you can always read The Way of a Pilgrim. As I said, it's a great nonfiction story. Now, putting all these books aside, what are some good online resources that you can be using? First one will be OCA's prayer resource. There's a bunch of prayers that you can be using here. Nothing really much to add. And there's a Jordanville prayer book. Now, if you want to buy it, you can always buy it yourself. But if you want to, use it online, Myria Biblos allows you to use it online. There's a bunch of prayers that you can be using. As I said, it's a proper, real book on prayer. And you can also set a prayer schedule where you can do the morning prayers, you can do the prayers before sleep, uh, prayers during the day, so on and so forth. So this is a very comprehensive, great resource for you to use. And I will say this is mostly for those that already have a good prayer structure but want to take it to the next level. You could be using this resource. And the final one will be liturgy.io. Now let's get a little bit back here. And this book has the Book of the Hours, also known as the Orologion, and you also have the Psalter readings. So, for example, I'm in the new calendar, and so if I take a look at the new calendar readings for today, um, depending on the hour of the day and depending on the day itself, the prayers will be different. Okay, the commemorations will be different. The psalms that you're going to be reading are going to be different. And so, if you want to do, uh, if you feel like you just need to pray, like for some reason, then you can always refer to this website, or just overall as a prayer book, you can refer to this website. It's a good resource, and the prayers itself aren't really that long compared to the Jordanville prayer book, at least. And let's get to the tips, right? So the first tip I would like to give to you, this goes more to the catechumens, is, you know, I'm not your spiritual guru, okay? People online are not going to be your spiritual gurus. Ultimately, you're going to be getting help from your spiritual father, from your priest. So, any problems you have regarding prayers, you should always be asking your priest. Now, of course, you might need something complimentary, or even worse, might there might not be an Orthodox church near you. So logically, there's not going to be an Orthodox priest near you. And so you might ask yourself, well, what do I do then? Well, um, there are still priests online willing to help out. One of them is Father Anania Sorem, um, who's also known as the Norwegian News on YouTube. And the second tip is going to be plagiarized from him. Um, the second tip is starting simple. Okay, start simple. When I asked Father Ananias regarding, what would you tell a spiritually dead person to do? What will your advice be for him to have a good prayer discipline? And he pretty much said, start with just doing the Trisagion prayers, all right? And so just do the Trisagion prayers morning, evening, night, all right? And the reasoning he gave is that starting short and consistent, and in general, being short and consistent is way better than being long and inconsistent. So, for example, if you're completely zero and you want to go for a prayer schedule, you might refer to this website, right? You might try to do the entire morning prayers. But what's going to happen is that you might be able to do it for a couple days, maybe even a week. But after a week, you will say, screw this, I'm not going to pray anymore. This takes way too much energy. And it's kind of weird saying that, but this really does happen. And as I said, we have an enemy, the devil, who's going to prevent us from praying. So naturally, this is going to be happening. And the best way you can circumvent that, practically speaking, is to start simple, right? And the final tip I would like to give to you is make prayer a habit. This is connected with the first and the second tip overall, but make it a habit. What do I mean by that? Well, the Trisagion prayer itself, the opening prayer, and if you don't even know what that is, this whole opening prayer, this section that I highlighted here, that's going to be that's the Trisagion prayer I'm talking about. So just starting by doing this every day, just doing this every single day, um, if you just do it every single day and make it a habit, and you come to a point where you literally cannot even sleep without doing these prayers, that's when you can start adding things up. And as I said before, don't make prayer a obligation. Make it a habit, but also make it a conversation between you and God. That's what really prayer is all about. And all problems regarding prayer really stems from this notion that people try to make it an obligation. Of course it's an obligation. Of course it is an obligation, but it's not only an obligation. And if you realize that, it will help out your prayer life significantly. And this will cover everything that I have to say regarding prayer. Thank you all for watching. Hope to see you in my next video. God bless all of you.